All right, welcome back to another episode of Real Talk. Jeff here. Dan, what's going on, dude? Long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time, man. Good to be back and chit chat some sports, man. It definitely has been feeling a little empty lately, but we're here.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know if this is attempt 2 or attempt 3 for us to kind of record this type of podcast, but it's been a little bit. We've been busy. Schedules haven't lined up. We haven't done a ton of basketball, but we'll touch on a little bit of that today. Let's start with the first thing. This is a Michigan podcast. While he's not the greatest Wolverine that's ever lived. He's the greatest NFL player that ever lived that went to Michigan. Opinions on Tom Brady as a Raider fan, as a Michigan fan. Everybody knows my opinions. I asked Brad's. I've always kind of been curious about yours. You've always been kind of reactionary to my opinions rather than giving your own. So I'm just kind of curious. Thoughts on Tom Brady
Um,
retiring and everything that means.
right. So I'm in a unique situation because I'm a Michigan fan, right? And then I'm also a Raiders fan. And obviously, when you are a Raiders fan and you think of Patriots, you think of the Tuck game, the Tuck rule game with Charles Woodson, looking like a strip sack, fumble, whatever. So as a Raider fan on that part of me, whatever, um, the Raider Nation will never like Patriots as an organization, or Tom Brady, just because of they're so salty about it, right? Um, I still a bit upset about the play call, but what can you do? It's so long ago, right? Um, and then as a Michigan fan, it's cool that Tom Brady went to U of M, and obviously he was battling out with Drew Henson forever, and finally won the job, and rightfully so. Probably should have had the job to begin with, but Drew Henson had all that star power, which kind of situation similar to what JJ has. 5-star coming in, taking over, but and just as just a general football fan, um, I don't really hate Tom Brady, and when he's in the Super Bowl or in the playoffs, I root for him. When my late grandfather passed away in 2017, or it was like a week before that Super Bowl where they were down 20-3 to the Falcons. My grandfather was a diehard Boston everything and Patriot fan, so I was in I was not even my team. I was in tears when the Patriots came back and won that game, and so that was amazing. So I respect the hell out of Tom Brady, and um, so a smidgen Raider fan of me or whatever. I hate the Patriots, but if Tom Brady's playing, whatever, I'm pulling for him.
Yeah, cool. I just kind of wanted to get that out there. Let's talk a little bit of Michigan coaching staff. I think the number one thing that kind of needed to be said, it was kind of up in limbo over the last several weeks that we were planning on potting, but I think it's as official as it can it be. Is Jim's going to stay? Jim's not going nowhere. There's not really a new deal in place, but as of right now, Jim Harbaugh is coaching Michigan this coming year. He kind of said that a few months ago. Um, there were reports that he took an interview with the Broncos, and then there were reports that he took a second interview in Ann Arbor with the Broncos. And after we see Sean Payton signs for $18 million, I kind of understand why Jim took a second interview. I'm sure the money was astronomical.
Yeah,
So Jim's going to stay. Opinions there.
that's great, and it finally got locked in. Obviously, the in the back of my mind, we're still waiting to see what the NCAA is going to do with the whole cheeseburger and fries incident. But it's glad that he's locked in. The 2023 class kind of, between the flirting in the NFL and the NIL, the 2023 class was kind of mediocre. I want to say a letdown. I mean, there's some good kids in there, but 2024 is shaping up to be pretty solid because of the news that Jim Harbaugh is sticking around. So yeah.
A couple of additions to the staff. Chris Partridge.
Yeah.
So he returns.
Yeah.
He was with Michigan, I believe, from 15 to 19, somewhere in there. Does that sound
Yeah.
right?
I mean, he was essentially with Jim from the jump, and I mean, he was the head coach at Paramus High School, which I believe Peppers, and I don't know, I can't remember off the top for 100%, but I think Rashawn Gary's in that area. So like when he came over, it was a big deal because it was a kind of recruiting lore, and he was one of their best recruiters. Yes.
Yeah, so he was with Jim from the jump, and he was a New Jersey guy. So yeah, he coached in that area. He was able to kind of dominate the New Jersey pipeline. That Michigan, since Harbaugh's been there, has kind of really just absolutely attacked and done well with. He goes over to Ole Miss basically in the time frame that we turn things around, which is kind of funny. But now he makes his return. What do you think that means for the program?
Well, again, huge recruiting positive right there. And then George Hilo was our linebackers coach currently, and so that was been thrown in the rumors like, is George Hilo out? Is he staying? What's Chris Partridge doing? And Partridge has already been on Twitter, saying that he's glad to be back at the best university in America. And when the graphic from the university or whoever tweeted it out there that he's back on staff, it just says staff. It's very generic. It doesn't give him a position.
Michigan football coach, I think it says, or something like
so
along those lines.
Handle anything. So just having him on regardless is a major win.
Couple of offensive analysts. Wow, can't say it. Offensive analysts added Josh Singagoga. I probably butchered that. And then Nick Gilbert.
Yeah.
Couldn't find a ton on Josh, but Gilbert, his specialty is offensive line. So obviously he was helping at Colorado last year.
Yeah.
Or 2 years ago. Sorry, 2 years ago, 2021. But any kind of help to the offensive line, which is already back-to-back Joe Moore winners, I think is great. Do you have anything on Josh?
I don't. I actually, it's funny. I got Synagoga down. And I got Kurt Campbell down. I completely forgot about Gilbert.
So let's move into Kurt Campbell because I think this is huge. So he's promoted. He was an analyst last year. He's moving up to QB coach. What does that mean for Mr. JJ?
I think it's really cool. And, he from 2017 and 2019, he was an offensive analyst for Penn State. And who was the quarterback during that tenure was Chase McSorley. And Chase McSorley was what I know McSorley, I think, had got one win on Michigan there was Saquon Barkley in 2017, I think it was. But McSorley was a pretty good college quarterback. So, I mean, he's a young guy. I think he's barely older than I am. So just give him time to really find his niche. And I think, with him already on staff as it is, it's not like JJ won't, not be familiar with this guy. So, yeah, good bump there. And then real quick, Synagoga, he's a Michigan native. He played, I forget where he played at, but he's coming from Youngstown State right now. And he was a quarterback. They were a recruiting coordinator. So you're getting a guy that's got somewhat of some Ohio ties, and they already had a few, Southern Ohio kids commit since the Ohio State game. So that's a nice 1-2 punch in the quarterback room.
Cool. Anything else on coaching additions that we didn't touch on?
Not regarding U of M,
no. One more thing on the the current season news, I guess. Michigan spring game, Maize versus Blue, April 1st on Saturday. So that day's officially locked in. Recruiting, 2023 overall, it's sitting at 19 is what I seen. I'm not sure if you have that number too. And then the transfer rank is about 14, which is weird because it was number 1 for a minute, and then it was number 2, and now it's down to 14. So kids must be just getting whipped up out of the portal. To be fair, I think we kind of expected that number to drop a little bit because of how much we're returning. We're not going to be that active in the portal where some kids might be getting, or some schools might be getting 10 to 15 to kids, where I think we snatched up 6, maybe 7 kids. So
yeah.
Lost out of Nicholas Harbor. South Carolina, it is what it is. I think there was a little bit of NIL issue there. Opinions on that?
Yeah, it's all speculation, but too, there was, he wants to run track, and so Oregon was also in the running there. And I heard that they had a pretty hefty NIL package, but he chose South Carolina anyway. And with Michigan, it was said that they wanted him to have at tight end, and then you have with this, conflicting with his body physique with track and football and the position that Michigan wanted him at, blah, blah, blah. So it just ended up not being a fit. And it's kind of a bummer because for the longest time, Michigan was just assumed to be his number 1. But, you gotta roll with the punches and adapt.
And, the thing is, and this is just kind of like the fact of college football, is he could take 1 year at South Carolina. If it's not great, he could throw himself in the portal and we can reattack him next year. That's just kind of what life is nowadays.
Yep.
Just recently signed defensive line 3-star Cam Brandt. Looks like a solid pickup. Anything on that or any other names that you've seen that kind of were part of this class last minute that we didn't touch on last time?
I think I touched on Carmelo English last time.
We did, yep.
But yeah, with Cameron Brandt, I mean, some recruiting services say 3-star, some say 4-star.
But yep, seen that.
It was flipped from Stanford last minute. It was kind of you were kind of hoping that Michigan was going to grab 2 or 3 last minutes, but it is what it is. And like you said, it's middle of the pack there for maybe not middle of the pack, but top 20 in ranking there. But I think with the transfer portal, the guys they got were really high caliber, and so it kind of filled the gaps or boosted them a little bit as a team overall. So it's not the worst thing in the world. I know people are, some Michigan fans are on Twitter right now, kind of overreacting, which is what people do. But yeah, not too shabby. I mean, Angelo Anthony goes to Oklahoma. Cade and Eric all transfer out. Yabioki follows to Bitpoji to Charlotte. Taylor Upshaw's going to Colorado. So you lose guys, but we fill those in, and I think we'll be all right.
The stat I seen is the Big Ten was able to secure 1 5-star player.
Yeah.
From this draft class or this recruitment class, this signing day, if you will. The SEC was able to get, there was like 50 something, and then Pac-12 had maybe like 7. Basically, the Big Ten had the least amount. Opinions on that? Is it NIL? Do you think it's got to be NIL at this point, right?
100% NIL, and the Big Ten and Michigan. I don't care about the other Big Ten teams, but Michigan's got to really step their NIL game up, and hopefully, the narrative that Jim Harbaugh and them pushes, we want competitors, we want guys who want to win. It's not about the money, and the glitz and the glamour is a bonus, and while that only goes so far, I mean, there's going to have to be a cycle, a year where they get 2 or 3 5-stars in here, maybe 4, because I mean, you see in TCU how the season they had, whatever, loaded with 3 stars. Dugan, he was a 4-star quarterback, but they got to the college football playoff on really good coaching. But you've seen the disparity between the level of play, and you've seen it last year when Michigan played Georgia. At some point, you're going to have to get that next level guy, and since Jim Harbaugh's been here, you go look back a few years, when we had Devin Bush at linebacker, I felt like that caliber of player, we needed like 3 or 4 more Devin Bushes on defense. And that was already a good defense. We needed 3 or 4 more Devin Bushes. Daxton Hill, we needed 3 or 4 more Daxton Hills. Luckily we had Aiden Hutchinson and Ojabo, but we just need a little more help there. But real quick too, I wanted to point this out, since 2015, since Jim Harbaugh's been here, whatever, his recruiting classes, let me go through each by year.
They're not great.
Okay, so 2015, 8th. Then we went 5th, 22nd, 8th, 10th, 13th, 9th, and then this year 18th. And I want to remember that one from 2017, that 22nd ranked class, in 2018. That was the foundation of the success that we had 2021. So the development is there. But again, we need just to nail down a few more of those 5-stars. And I think Michigan is 74-25 since those recruiting cycles, and right there, who we are competing with the same guys as Penn State, they're 71-30. So we're right there. We're getting right over that hump, but hopefully something here goes in our way one cycle.
Yeah. NIL, I think this is a good time to bring this up. So Jaden
Rashada, yep.
Yep. Talk about his NIL deal with Florida. What happened there?
All right. So, bit lengthy. I'll try to keep it short and sweet. But yeah, Jaden Rashada, some recruiting services has him at a 4, some have him at a 5-star quarterback. He was originally committed to Miami Hurricanes.
Yeah.
And then he flipped to Florida after Florida was offering him an NIL deal from a group called the Gator Collective. So Rashada signed this NIL contract that he was going to get as follows. So up front, he was supposed to get a $500,000 payment on December 5th. After that payment, it would increase from $250 his freshman year, $291 and some change as a sophomore, $375 as a junior, and then rounded out to $195, almost $196 monthly as a senior.
I don't want to cut you off, but you didn't say that. Those are monthly payments every year, correct?
Monthly payments.
Yeah.
And then right here, this is all he had to do. This is all the stipulations. One was be a resident of Gainesville, Florida, easy. At least one branded Twitter post and one Instagram post per month, cake. Up to 8 fan engagements, which could have been interviews, fan days, whatever, cake. And then the other one was autograph up to 15 pieces of merchandise per year. And the way the memorabilia business is right now, you can do that in 10 minutes. And now the reason why he's not at Florida anymore is because Rashada never received that $500,000 payment, and the contract was terminated 2 days later. The contract reportedly stated that the Gator Collective could, in its sole and absolute discretion, terminate the agreement without penalty or further obligation. And then since then, Rashada has now signed with Arizona State. So
yes, he's committed and he's signed with them. Yeah,
correct. Yeah. So the Gator Collective, basically, you go to The Athletic or you go to MSN.com, whatever, and find the article. Essentially, they said that they weren't ever going to guarantee that money. So they basically hoodwinked the kid. And so because they promised him all this money up front, wasn't there anymore. He skipped out of town. So I posted this graphic on the Real Talk Facebook page, of course, a few days ago. And it was alarming to me on how much money this kid is being paid up front before ever throwing a pass.
Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, there's just a lot of that. I don't think we fully understand the groundwork of what the NIL is doing especially in the Southeastern Conference, or otherwise known as the SEC. I just think that pretty soon our 12-team playoff, it's going to, obviously you have your 5 teams that are your Power 5. And then at that point, it's going to be very hard to get an at-large team in, even with 12 teams, because I think the rest are going to be pretty much SEC. I mean, that is the direction we're going. Because if you start to really just think of yourself as a realist right now, Georgia right now over the last 2 years has established themselves. You can even argue even more, but 2 years for sure has established themselves as the king of college football, right? You'd have to assume that Alabama's not going away. They're still going to be just fine. They'll get things rolling. Georgia's just up. Alabama's not that bad. They lost 2 games. Like, let's settle down. So you have to assume they're going to be fine. LSU with Brian Kelly in town had a pretty solid first year. They had a good recruiting class. You'd have to assume that this is going to continue to trend up. Yeah. Texas coming in. Oklahoma coming in. I mean, Texas just got Arch Manning. They still got Ewers. Florida, I would imagine, is never just going to lay down. They're still going to be somewhat contendable. So Auburn, all these different schools in the SEC that are still recruiting at a high level. Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin. A 3-loss SEC team is it's gonna look better than a 1-loss Big Ten team at this point. It's trending in that direction. And with NIL, it's like if there's 65 5-star kids and 60 of them are going to the SEC, it's like the talent is apparently there on paper, Yeah. Anything else on recruiting, NIL, coaching, anything else football wise?
Yeah, real quick, just a couple headlines that came across my ESPN feed today was Northwestern and Iowa are faced to battle it out at Wrigley Field on November 4th. And the second one was Iowa has also announced that offensive coordinator Brian Ferentz has an incentive-based contract. Previously making $900,000, he can now add $112,500 in bonuses if he hits these 2 marks. If he hits 25 points per game, which they only averaged 17 in 2022, and they win at least 7 games. And so now he's got Eric Gall and Cade McNamara to hopefully give him that nudge in that direction. But those were the two, at least Big Ten ones that stood out to me today.
Yeah, Iowa, I think they could fall asleep today and still win 7 games. I mean, that seems very on the table for them. The 25 points will be interesting. Are they going to let Cade kind of just air it out? Is Eric Gall going to be at full health? All those things are question marks. As far as the Wrigley home game for Northwestern, I think that's pretty cool too.
Yeah. Football games, college, when they're doing them in the baseball fields, it's definitely fun to watch. You almost get like an arena football type deal because of how close the seats and the walls are. But if it ever happened in Detroit, I would definitely try to go do something like that.
Yeah, and if Michigan was able to get a road game at Wrigley Field against Northwestern, I'd be so for that. That'd be super cool. Ready for hoops?
Let's do it.
Let's season recap here. Michigan basketball, they're 14-10 on the year, 8-5 in the Big Ten, which is good for 4th place. That's not terrible. The 3 teams ahead of them are all ranked. Okay. 10-3 at home on the year, 2-4 on the road. So obviously the road problems have been an issue. And they're 0-3 against AP ranked teams, which I believe they're actually worse than 0-3. But those teams that they lost to have now lost more games, I think. But it says they're 0-3. Their last 3 games, though, they're on a 3-game win streak. On the road at Northwestern, 68-51. At home against Ohio State, 77-69, and then at home against Nebraska, they put it down 93-72. Teams trending in the right direction. Opinions on the last 3 games, what we've kind of seen this season. Before we talk about how we finish up, opinions on where we're at just right now.
Yeah, definitely disappointing. But then again, it's like, are we judging Juwan Howard fair? I know a lot of people are calling for his job. I probably even said something like that out of frustration online, but they lost a lot, transfer portal, NBA, and they lost their starting point guard, and so now we're starting a freshman. That's pretty green, but they're playing 3 straight games of winnable, winning basketball, and they went through a period there where they were win loss. Month of January was a roller coaster. They almost beat Purdue. They lost Iowa in overtime. And so they read all 3 straight, and the Nebraska game was kind of a must-win, honestly. And beating Ohio State, that was fantastic, of course. And now they got a huge game against Indiana, so they're still not considered the first 4 out or the next 4. They got to beat Michigan State, I think, and they got to at least win. Was it 6 games left?
There's 5 games left.
5 games left. They got to at least win 3 of those, at least, before even. And if they come up short there in this last chapter here, the only other option is to win the conference tournament.
Yeah, I think Hunter hasn't played as good as we would have liked to see a junior year Hunter Dickinson play. Not that I'm putting this all on him, but I'm just calling things like I see it. I think I know I expected to see a better Hunter Dickinson than we've seen the last 2 years. I feel like we've gotten the same thing. Jet Howard is an absolute flame-throwing superstar. It is very disappointing that the season we're getting from him is not going to be what we envisioned. Because I truly believe he is gone. I believe this is it. Kobe Bluffkin, I think, is a solid player. He's a great 3rd option player. Unfortunately, where this team has lacked the last 2 seasons, point guard play.
Yeah,
we've talked about this. We had a run of elite point guard play, as good as anybody in the entire country, going back to even Darius Morris, Trey Burke, who was in there, Derek Walton, Xavier Simpson, and then help me out, transfer, 1-year player.
Oh, Frankie Collins?
No, Mike.
Last year. Yeah,
no, 2 years. It was 2 years ago. I can't think of his name. Anyways.
Oh, Mike Smith.
Mike Smith. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So And then last year it was the other transfer kid who played well in spots, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. But the point guard play the last 2 seasons has not been great. This year they brought in a transfer guard. He got hurt immediately a couple games in, and it's been a lot of Dougie McDaniels, and unfortunately not ready for the role. Played really bad basketball in spots. Takes some interesting shot attempts. Some go in, some don't. But ultimately I put a lot of this on, like you said, it's not necessarily Juwan's fault, but it feels like it at times. There's just no reason that you could potentially have 3 NBA draft picks on your team and you're 14-10.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and like I said, I think we might be at a point now where we kind of like we were with Jim Harbaugh, like we're starting to get frustrated with the progress on the field, in this case the court, and it's like, is Juwan Howard getting a fair shake here? I mean, do we have to give him a couple more seasons to start really showing that he can develop guys? And again, that first thing is point guard. I don't mind going to the transfer portal for a wing guy or center, but I think a point guard has got to be something that is either so talented he's one and done, and you can get that consistently every year, or you get a guy that is like Trey Burke or Xavier Simpson and Derek Walton, a guy who can transform and be a solid foundation for 2, 3, 4 years. And you're right. Yeah, Hunter Dickinson is like he's been good. He's 18-8 right now and averaging a game, but there's still something missing. And a lot of it to me is his defense is garbage. I'm not trying to be harsh on him. Hunter Dickinson. I like watching the kid, but his defensive effort is terrible. And they're as a team, they're terrible on defense. They don't rotate, and they just give up easy baskets consistently every game. And that game recently where they blew out Nebraska in the score count, there was a time where Nebraska made like 2 huge runs, and Michigan was like, "Oh, great, they're gonna piss this game away." So yeah, they got to get that figured out if they want to make a run. But yeah, I'm totally on board with what you're saying.
Yeah, let me give you his freshman year stats real quick. 14 points, 1.4 blocks, 7 rebounds, less than 1 assist per game. Last year, and again, I think part of this is point guard play. I'm not putting this all on Hunter, because having a big, you kind of need a point guard too. Mm-hmm. But last year, he takes a step. Damn near 19 points a game, 18.6, 1.5 blocks, 8.6 rebounds. I think that's a nice step up. Okay. Mm-hmm. And he's shooting, his career average has literally never changed. So he's always pretty much shot 60% from the field. Mm-hmm. But this year, where it's your junior year, he even talked on multiple podcasts in the offseason that he was looking to make an elevated jump to get himself some real stock. He is currently averaging 18 points, 1.6 blocks, 8.5 rebounds. It is identical to last year.
Yeah.
Identical. You didn't take a jump. You haven't jumped at all.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, literally the stats are just crazy how similar they are. Matter of fact, his field goal percentage is slightly down. It's not, terrible, but it's slightly down. His minutes per game is 2 less. I don't know. I just overall, I think we're just getting the same Hunter that we got the last 2 years, and we haven't really gotten a step up. And unfortunately, had he taken a 24-10 jump,
yeah,
I know that's a lot. Maybe 22-10. Let's be fair, 22-10, right? And then you get Jet Howard playing how he is. I think Michigan's probably 17-7 rather than 14-10.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Yeah, and I was reading on CBS today too that they're 2-8 versus quad 1 competition, which is not great, and they have that ugly ass loss to Central Michigan and almost losing to Eastern Michigan. So, now that I think about it some more, I said they have to win at least 3. I think they have to I think they got to run the rest of this table in regular season to even be considered, or at the most lose 1. They got to go 4-1 or 5-0. At this point, but. Hopefully they can get their shit together. That a win against Michigan State, it would be phenomenal.
Do you know what Michigan's record was last year through 24 games?
It's literally the same, isn't it?
14-10.
Yeah.
And if you remember, they went on a run last year and they were able to beat Ohio State last game of the year, and they were able to win a couple of. I think they made 1 or 2 Big Ten tournament wins. They didn't win it, but they won like 1 or 2 games, and that was enough to squeak in. And people laughed. They're like, this Michigan team really got in, and they went to the Sweet 16. So it's like,
yeah,
never count Michigan basketball out. You can't over the last 10 years. Literally the last 10 years, they've just kind of been a threat.
yeah.
Let's talk about their next 5. Home against Indiana. Indiana's number 18 in the country. They're 17-7. Do you think that's a win?
I think this is going to be the one. I mean, I think
they need that one.
They
need that one.
That one more than the Michigan State game for sure. I think if they play,
no, that's the most important game left on the schedule, in my opinion. I know Michigan State's a rival, but this Indiana game is the most important game, I think.
The only way they win this game against Indiana is if they play like they did against Nebraska.
Let's see here. I'm trying to find the spread. I actually there isn't one.
Hold on. Let's see here. It looks. I don't see a spread on ESPN either. They're just giving.
I don't see a spread.
They're just giving Indiana 63% chance of winning.
Yeah, this game's on Saturday night. It's a big game. Weirdly enough, these teams are damn near identical. Indiana averages 77 a game, Michigan 74. Michigan grabs 33 rebounds, Indiana's 34. Assists per game, Michigan 13, Indiana just shy of 16, so a little different there. Point differential, Michigan 4.5, Indiana almost 10. So I guess that's the one thing they're blowing out their opponents. I say blowing out. 10 points is decent, but Michigan's playing a lot of close games.
Yeah, and Indiana's got a lot of momentum after upsetting Purdue. So
yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. This is the best game remaining. It's going to be definitely a challenge, but it's nice that it's at home. They need to win that one. We'll give them a win just for conversation's sake. On the road at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's 14-9. What do you feel about that one? They're 2-4 on the road this year.
That one's interesting. I don't think they've played Wisconsin yet. I don't see that
they play them twice in the last 5 games, so no,
correct.
They haven't.
Yeah, that's you can buy you can $6 tickets to that game right now on ESPN. Good Lord. To live in Madison. I think that's a winnable game. We'll see. I mean, Wisconsin is 14-9. They're about. It's probably going to be a neck and neck game. So I think winnable.
Yeah. Home against Michigan State. They were able to beat rival Ohio State this year. They lost to Michigan State on the road. They played good for about a half. Yeah. What do you think about this one, though?
If Michigan somehow beats Indiana and Wisconsin and then goes into Michigan State with those 2 wins right there, I think sellout crowd, everything on the line. I think Michigan that game. If they start in there losing both these next 2 or go 1-1, that's a toss-up.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's perfect. On the road at number 24 Rutgers. Rutgers is 16-8. That's a tough game there. Number 24 Rutgers. Rutgers is obviously battling for tournament. They're ahead of us as well. I think ultimately Rutgers has played pretty good ball this year.
Yeah.
Rutgers isn't a massive home environment, but it is something. I think that might be a loss.
Yeah, I don't feel good about that.
Yeah. And then season closer, pretty much a must win no matter what game, unless they lose 4, the next 4. If they get 2 wins out of the next 2, this one's going to be a must win game at home against Whiskey to end the season. They gotta beat Wisconsin, right? Going into the Big Ten championship. Yeah. So I think I like him at 4-1 to try and close out their season, winning 7 of 8. Yeah, 7 of 8. Going into the Big Ten championship with some momentum, which, by the way, if it started today, they would be the 4 seed, which is a double bye. I'd argue that's actually almost not good for Michigan right now. But hey, I'd take the double bye at this point.
Yeah.
Any your comments, concerns on the basketball team right now?
Nope. I'm good there.
I wanted to do a quick preview of the Michigan-Ohio State outdoor hockey game, the face-off on the lake. We're going to be at that game. Michigan and Ohio State outside at Brown Stadium, First Energy Stadium. That's going to be a blast. Michigan's currently ranked what?
Michigan is third in the Big Ten, fifth overall. Ohio State is fourth in the Big Ten and seventh overall.
So definitely a top 10 matchup.
Yep.
Gonna be a banger. These games are usually high scoring, are they not?
Yeah. So far they've played each other. They played back in Ann Arbor earlier in January, and it was a split series. Ohio State took them to task 7-2 on Friday night, and then Michigan followed it up on Saturday to win 4-2.
Okay.
So both, Michigan has got like the third ranked offense in nationally, and Ohio State is on offense and defense both right outside the top 10. Michigan's defense is like 46, so their defense and statistically isn't the greatest. So I'm assuming it's going to be pretty action packed. Michigan is they went through a rough stretch in November and the beginning of December because some of the team, most of the locker room had a virus. It wasn't COVID, but it was enough to put like 2 or 3 kids in the ICU. So they were down almost a line and a half worth of guys. Pretty crucial guys in their lineup. And it wasn't until I think last weekend where Stephen Holtz, he's a junior, came back from Michigan from the ICU for the first time. He finally got cleared to play. So it was kind of an emotional weekend to beat Wisconsin the way they did.
Yeah.
And then you have the World Juniors. So Michigan always loses guys around middle of December. So sometimes you got to play with low strength. But anyways, they play on February 16th on that Thursday in Columbus, and then they play in Cleveland 2 days later. So it's going to be a great time. Adam Fantilli for Michigan is number 2 in the nation in scoring. So he's got a bright future ahead of him. And like I said, Ohio State's boasting a pretty solid top 10 offense and defense. So, it's going to be a battle, man. And outdoor,
Yeah.
my second outdoor, I went to the Big Chill when Michigan played Michigan State in 2010. Outdoor.
I've always been jealous of that. Been very jealous of that.
Very, very fun experience.
Yeah, the Big Chill happened and it kind of went over my head at the time. I don't remember why, but wasn't really paying attention to that kind of stuff. There's your Big Chill ticket. Yep. And then the battle at the Big House, or I forgot what they call it. It was the Winter Classic at the Big House. The Red Wings played there.
Yeah.
Really wanted to go and then just never pursued tickets. So the fun thing is I was literally at the Patriots Browns game this year, and I texted you. I was like, hey, because we had already kind of briefly spoke about going to this, and I was like, hey, are we going to do this? And you're like, yeah, I just bought 6 tickets. So typical Yao, but anything else on this game before we move to the mailbag?
Nope, good, buddy.
All right. Let me pull up the mailbag here. They disappeared. All right. So, first question. Oh, wow. I think we already answered this. Writes in from Jamie. How do you expect the new QB coach to affect JJ? I'm assuming he's talking about Kurt Campbell.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you kind of briefly touched on this, that he was able to work with Trace McSorley. Trace McSorley found his way to the NFL. I think this is huge for JJ, especially as this team has 1,000% established themselves as the best run team in the entire country. The last 3 to maybe 4 games that JJ played, I thought he played really well passing the ball, including the bowl game. I know that's not a popular opinion because he threw 2 pick sixes. I thought JJ has really taken steps from November on. What do you think?
Yeah, it's Jim Harbaugh's offense. So, as long as Jim's there, I'm pretty confident that JJ will be fine regardless. Sherrone Moore didn't go anywhere. So, I think you're fine. And JJ, he didn't start every game last season, but Kurt Campbell was around the whole year. So, again, there's still familiarity there. And even if they were to bring in a new guy, I don't think I'd still be too worried. But they're in good shape.
Jamie writes in again, with the latest win streak, do you think the men's team can sneak in the dance? Big Ten floor to get in the bubble is about 18 wins the last few years. So with that said, Michigan's got 14 wins. We like them to go 4-1 over their next 5, but let's even give them 3. 3 out of 5. That puts them at 17. I'm giving them one Big Ten tournament win. That's 18. I think they got 18 or 19 wins in them. What do you think?
If they get to that mark, they'll probably be a first 4 out again. But I'd be very gracious if they get that. But yeah, like I said, I'm on the bubble myself. I still think they have to win 4 out of the next 5.
You think an 18 and 12 Michigan team is getting left out?
If one of those wins is against Michigan State or Indiana, I think they're in.
Yeah, I think we both agree. If they beat Indiana, that's a huge win. That catapults them. And if they're able to beat Rutgers too, boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
Last but not least, I think we kind of just did this, but Kyle Miller writes in Michigan, Ohio State hockey hype in Cleveland. Yeah, I think we're both excited. Kyle, you're going to tag along with us. 3 Michigan, 3 Ohio State. It's going to be a good time. I'm excited for the first outdoor hockey. You've already been to one. I mean, it's going to be a good time.
Real quick, as a Michigan fan, or just a fan in general, I'm never one to find a scapegoat in the Zebras or the officials to blame for a loss, or whatever. But
yeah,
I tell you what, Michigan almost guaranteed a game misconduct every single game, which is a 5-minute major, and depending on the severity, that player can get kicked out the rest of the game and then miss the following game afterwards, kind of like a targeting or whatever, or it's just a 5-minute penalty. But they're always due for one, and with this rivalry, man, I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be a little rowdiness going on. And the only bad thing about college hockey, in my opinion, is there's no fighting allowed. There is, of course, pushing and shoving that happens from time to time, but yeah, it's definitely going to be a fun time.
With it being at Brown Stadium in Ohio, what do you expect? We talked about a neutral site game when we went to the Little Caesars Arena for Michigan Eastern. We thought that was interesting. You've obviously been to some Big Ten championship games. What do you think as far as this one, as far as a neutral site? Because it is supposed to be a neutral site, right? This isn't classified Correct. As Ohio State home game. Correct. Opinions on that? Who shows up? Both Michigan, Ohio State? What do you think?
I think it's going to be probably about 50-50. Ohio State's really good this year, and I think it's in Ohio, right? And with Michigan, being as good as they are, I think Michigan fans, they travel everywhere. I think it'll probably be 50-50. When the big chill happened at Michigan Stadium, I mean, that was a sold-out crowd. It was 110,000 people. I don't think, we'll come close to like 4. I mean, I don't know how big Brown Stadium is. I think it's like 60-something.
I think it holds 65 or so.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be a sellout crowd, but if it is, that'd be great. I think it'll be split even though.
Anything else? I think that's all I got.
Yeah, I got a couple brain teasers for you.
Oh, I love this. Let's go.
Okay. And well, 2 of them are basketball related, one's football related, and they're not they're more opinion based. It's not really trivia, but I'll start with this one. So MGO blog put out a tweet, I think it was last week, regarding Blake Corum. So Blake Corum has 2,492 career rush yards. And at the end of the next season, where will he rank all time in Michigan history for career yards rushing? And I'll give real quick the top 6, and I'll start from 6, work my way up to 1. So at 6, we got Butch Woolfolk with 3,850. Tyrone Wheatley at 4,178. Jamie Morris at 4 with 4,392. At number 3, we have Anthony Thomas at 4,472. At number 2, we have Denard Robinson at 4,495. And then at number 1, Mr. Mike Hart at 5,040. So where do you think Blake Corum finishes in that top 6 there with 2,492 at the moment?
Yeah, I seen this the other day, and I was kind of contemplating how many yards I want to give Blake. Chalk him up for 1,300. Where does that put him?
I'm terrible at math. So that would put
add 1,000 on. Add 1,000 on him.
Yeah,
and then add 300 on that.
Yeah, so he'll be just under, I think, 37.
What's he have now?
224.92.
224. So 1,300 would make him 3,500 yards.
35. Okay. So Butch Woolfolk is at 3,850.
Yeah, so he would fall short of that.
Yeah, and
That's a tough climb.
It is a tough climb. And now that Donovan Edwards has really emerged himself in his absence,
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Blake might still get some touchdowns and some goal line.
Yeah.
Donovan's gonna get equal carries, I think, as far as in the middle of the field, because he showed himself how dominant he can be. But for whatever reason, and this is a topic for a whole nother day, but Donovan doesn't get goal line carries. They would rather put a fucking linebacker in there. So, not really sure what the deal is there. So
yeah. I mean, it's hard to predict right now. I definitely will have. We definitely revisit this as when we're in July or August. But
yeah,
with that, there's going to be a lot of mouths to feed. There was a lot of mouths to feed in 2022. So you gotta satisfy a lot of people, and you got a lot of. There's no excuse to not have one of the best rushing attacks in the country. All right, so the next one is again basketball related for these last two. So if you could, you could add a former basketball player to this season roster, who would it be?
This feels easy. With how good Jet is, with how good Hunter is, there's a steady 2 guard. It's got to be either. You don't really need a power forward to help out Hunter. Got to be Trey. Got to be Trey Burke.
Yeah, I was pretty. For my first, my instant reaction was Trey Burke, but I'm like, what about Manny Harris?
Yeah, Manny Harris was good, not as good as Trey, but yeah, he's good.
Right. So yeah, those are everyone want to. And then the next one is what's your favorite Michigan basketball memory?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give 4.
Yeah.
I maybe actually let me give 5, no order. I have them all on the top of my head. First one ever. It was my first ever Michigan basketball game. It was Trey Burke's freshman year. It was senior day for Stu Douglas and Zach Novak. And my now wife, I don't think she was my wife at the time, but she may have been. She was pregnant with our first child, Maisie, shout out. And while she was pregnant, she ran onto the court with a drawn head of Stu Douglas, and she got an autograph from Stu Douglas on the court on Chrysler Arena.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite memories. Second one, it's the greatest sporting event I've ever been to. Michigan Ohio State basketball game. It was the first ever top 10 matchup between the two teams. It went to overtime. Tim Hardaway was absolutely unreal in that game. It gets brought up every time these two teams play, I feel like, and it happened in February. So that's second one. Third, man, Jordan Poole, Sweet 16.
Yeah.
I was by myself. I'm pretty sure it was after midnight, and he hits the shot, and I'm screaming.
Yeah.
4 was it was a loss, and that's fine, but it was the end of the 2013 run.
Yeah.
Michigan, Louisville. We were up at Nick and Jimmy's. We had a large group of people there.
Yeah.
And it just came up short. It happens. And then number 5, probably my number 1 favorite moment, but I mean, I'd have to really think back. But it was like 2 days before my birthday, 2018. You, myself, Corey, we go up to the Brown Jug in Ann Arbor, and we watch the Final Four. We kicked the shit out of Loyola Chicago and Sister Jean, and we stormed the streets of Ann Arbor, and it was a night to remember. I think all 5 of those, put them in any order. They all mean a lot to me.
Yeah, every one of those that I'm involved with you at, I can put mine. You put that in there for me, and if I could add on top of that, one is going to be the Trey Burke when he picked Keith Applin's pocket at Chrysler and he put it down and dunked it in, and Tom Izzo's going like this, like calm down. That was a great one. I've been to Chrysler numerous times. I've never seen really a memorable game there. Whatever, I'll either lose or it's like early in the season.
Yeah.
And it's against like a local Jesuit.
We were at the game. You and I were at the Michigan State game where Jordan Poole was going off, but we still lost that game. And we had the kid behind us telling us how Jordan Poole was trash the whole time.
Yeah, so that was kind of irritating, but the 2013 Natty was definitely a memorable one. It was definitely an emotional loss there. Spike Albrecht going off in the first half, it was just going bananas.
Yeah.
The Trey Burke shot from the stratosphere against Kansas. The whole, I mean, you just say the whole 2013 season, and then
the entire 2013 run is unreal.
And then the last one I'll say is I think it was the John Beilein is going to do some things here game was when they won with Stu Douglas and Zach Novak in East Lansing, I believe. And Stu Douglas just hit like a fucking dagger from hell, and they shut the zone up, and that was great.
Yeah. Hopefully more Michigan basketball memories to be made here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, even last year was a decent year and ended up in a Sweet 16. It didn't have the memorable feel that other seasons have had because they've either made Big Ten tournament runs or longer actual NCAA tournament runs. So hopefully this team's able to kind of get a notch in their belt,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah. It's cool to catch up on basketball. I know we obviously have tried to connect and just schedules like you alluded in the beginning, but we'll revisit this hopefully soon. Hopefully after we'll try to let a few games go by, so maybe after the regular revisit this before conference play starts. And I'll say this before we close: is Jalen Hurts, please save us from the Brittany Mahomes and Jackson Mahomes TikTok bonanza that might Sunday. So do America a solid, buddy.
All right, man. It's been real. We'll be back for our pre-Big Ten tournament pod, I'm sure. And hopefully Michigan can close us out, give us a good 5-0 run here. So thanks for listening. 3-year anniversary pod coming up soon. Super Bowl Sunday is upon us. Hope you guys have been digging everything we're doing. A lot of pods coming out lately. Thanks again. We're out. Go Blue. Real talk.